But this is what we know so far about this vile jihadi called Jihad. Yes, that's right. Terrorist Jihad al-Shami was on police bail for an alleged rape when he carried out the Manchester synagogue attack. The attacker was responsible for the killings and he's been named as Jihad al-Shami. And counter-terrorism police have tonight done us all a favour by stating the bleeding obvious that they believe he was influenced by extreme Islamist ideology, which begs the question, why has the Prime Minister not come out and actually specifically named it as Islamist ideology? The 35-year-old man was a British citizen but of Syrian descent, and that is because we gave him a British passport in 2006, and that is raising very serious questions which we're going to talk about in the next segment about what is it that really makes you British. Is it just having a passport or not? But he was shot dead 7 minutes after police were called to the scene. He came to the UK as a young child. GB News can also exclusively reveal that the father of the attacker, Faraj al-Shami, has also described Israel as, quote, a terrorist state. This is on his Facebook profile. He's made regular posts on the civil war in Syria, the Israel-Hamas war. Meanwhile, it's been reported that counter-terrorism police are investigating if the attacker had previously sent death threats to an MP for his stance on Israel. Former Tory MP John Howell received a barrage of death threats, one of them from a man called Jihad al-Shami, which is the same name, obviously, as the bloke who committed that atrocity yesterday. But tomorrow, we will see disgusting marches again in Britain. So that was last night, OK? Clashes with police last night, just hours after the attack. We will hear tomorrow on the streets of Britain chants like this.
Death, death to the IDF! Death, death to the IDF! Death, death to the IDF! Death, death to the IDF!
We all know that tomorrow there will be people on the street who agree with what this kneecap singer said. Well, Kneecap have distanced themselves from past controversial on-stage remarks and said that those extracts were deliberately taken out of context, by the way, to manufacture moral hysteria. Anyway, but if other marches are anything to go by, there'll be pure, unfiltered anti-Semitism. There have been Hitler posters, glorification of the Hamas paragliders, and yesterday, a sign at one of these protests that we saw yesterday said, "Punch your local Zionist." There it is, bold as brass. The Metropolitan Police said that we needed to acknowledge that there is context for calls for jihad on the streets.
The only solution is jihad by the armies of the Muslim countries.
Sir Keir Starmer actually represented that now banned terrorist organisation Hizb ut-Tahrir when they wanted to fight being a proscribed terror group in Germany. Oh, whoopsie. The head of the National Education Union has called to mobilise the Intifada.
Let's do it for Palestine, Ramallah, West Bank, Gaza. It's about time we globalise the Intifada!
He's the head of the National Education Union, everybody. And yesterday, we saw what globalising the Intifada looks like, don't we? A Syrian man going on a rampage at a synagogue. Last night, just hours after the terror attack, mobs descended on city centres across the country and even booed a man who walked past them and said, "Return the hostages."
Viva, viva Palestina! Viva, viva Palestina! Viva, viva Gaza! Viva, viva Gaza!
Now, Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood has previously been on some marches and now says that she's powerless to stop them.
Those messages are utterly disgraceful. They are fundamentally un-British in nature, as far as I'm concerned. I would have wanted to see people in this country, step back from protesting for at least a few days, just to give the Jewish community here a chance to process what has happened and to begin the grieving process as well. I am very disappointed that some of the organisers haven't heeded the call to step back.
You're the Home Secretary. You can stop this. The Metropolitan Police have urged people not to protest. The Prime Minister has urged people not to protest. The Home Secretary there says she doesn't want them to go ahead. Well, I mean, Sir Keir Starmer said this yesterday.
Every Jewish person in this country, I also want to say this. I know how much fear you will be holding inside of you. I really do. And so, on behalf of our country, I express my solidarity, but also my sadness that you still have to live with these fears.
Well then, grow a set of balls, call out their disgusting behaviour and stop these marches. Right, let's get the thoughts of my panel on this now. Adam, your views on what we are inevitably going to see tomorrow, which is people, by the way, may I remind you, marching in support of a banned terrorist organisation, Palestine Action.
Let's remind the viewers what Palestine Action are. They're a group of violent thugs that broke into a military installation with a cache of weapons and hurt security guards and police officers. That is why they was deemed a terrorist group. And we have tens of thousands of people that seemingly think that's okay and want to support these people on our streets. That is deranged, and that is just senseless and mindless stupidness, because at the end of the day now, these protests shouldn't even go ahead tomorrow. Out of respect for the Jewish community, out of respect for the dead of yesterday, how people can march on our streets knowing there's going to be anti-Semitism and Jew hate after yesterday is beyond thinking for me. And any decent person wouldn't do that. But we see only yesterday night people saying punch Zionists, wanting violence. These people are deranged, and I think our police and all authorities need to look into some of the organisers now of these marches.
So, does anyone else understand this? So, if the Prime Minister doesn't want them to go ahead, the Home Secretary doesn't want them to go ahead, the Chief of Police doesn't want them to go ahead, well, why can't we stop them?
Well, they could stop them. They could put an exclusion zone. They could just absolutely stop them. They can make it illegal to do it. You know, we could declare a national day of mourning and sympathy. But, I mean, to come out, Shabana Mahmood, I think she has said some quite competent things since she's been Home Secretary. But
I love that, by the way, that's an amazing moment. You've managed to, pinpoint that. Hurrah!
I'm trying to just be, balanced about her. She seems like a bright woman. But you can't just say thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers. People have had enough. And she said, we'll protect the Jewish community. The Jewish community should not need protecting. They're British citizens.
And many of them
They're
are
our fellow
fearful
people.
about going into London.
Exactly.
Even before this weekend, they are fearful about going into London.
They've got, I mean, come on,
Patrick,
they've got to stop these marches, haven't they?
Can I just say, a lot of people, before the marches the other week, a lot of people said they shouldn't go ahead, and they feared violence. There was a bit of violence, not much. Right?
But the difference is, Barry, let me just interrupt you. All your cabinet condemned those arrests as far right and thuggery.
Yeah.
We haven't had any of that from yesterday's violence from the protests. Any of that. It's pure hypocrisy, and it is an agenda that your government is playing, Barry.
Look, I'm not trying to, make a case for what the government said. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say, look, a lot of people said those marches shouldn't go ahead.
It was one.
And in fact, they did go ahead, and it was right that they did. Because people have a right in this country to peaceful protest. And having a right doesn't mean that you always do the right thing. Having a right to do something is not the same as doing the right thing.
But isn't it being abused, though?
Let me just finish. That is why you need a right to do it. Because sometimes your right gives you the right to do something that is offensive. Sometimes
but this is illegal,
sometimes
Barry.
that it is morally wrong.
But they're going to support Palestine Action, which is a banned terrorist organisation.
Let's deal with, because there are two different elements going on tomorrow. One is the group that we've seen many times, which are completely peaceful. They sit there with their sign which says, I support Palestine Action.
Which is illegal.
Yes, absolutely. And I condemn that because it's an illegal banned organisation. right? But they are a peaceful demonstration. There will also be demonstrators tomorrow, no doubt, who are marching and who are not
a question
peaceful.
of moral decency.
But sorry, Barry, how can you know?
It is about moral decency.
But Barry,
and sometimes people use their rights in ways that morally they shouldn't, and that's why the Prime Minister and others have been saying, please,
Barry,
we know Barry,
it's not peaceful. If you're holding, right, because I fundamentally don't disagree with you that if you are someone who is going on the march and saying, I hate what's happening in Gaza, and I don't like it, but also that the hostages should be freed, and you're doing that peacefully, you should have the right to do that. But what you're defending as peaceful is holding up a sign defending a prescribed terror group. That's not peaceful.
Exactly, but it is only ever Gaza. What about everywhere else in the world?
I think that's also a really fair point, but how can you hold up a sign supporting a terror group and you call that a peaceful protest? That's not.
We also just stop pretending that we don't actually know exactly what's going on at these marches. Like, the day after Jews were slaughtered, you go out there, you're holding signs, punch your local Zionists in the face. The Daily Telegraph sent a reporter undercover there. They got a quote from someone, I don't give an F about the Jewish community today. This is not a few fringe people. I'm sorry, it's not. There is a nest of absolutely
it's a significant number of people
that use this stuff. They do. And tomorrow we're going to see it.
Yeah.
And what message does this send to people if you've got a Home Secretary, a Prime Minister and a Chief of Police who's saying that we don't want this to happen, and then it goes ahead anyway? Should we all just do what we want then?
And also she said it was disgraceful, but also does that mean she's disgraceful, Shabana Mahmood, because she has been on these marches?
She celebrated the fact they'd made Sainsbury's close for the afternoon and thought that was a great use of her time.
Look, I'm not trying to defend Shabana Mahmood or anybody else. I'm trying to get us to think about how we stop vilifying people and putting them in different camps. According to Patrick and the panel, basically everybody on the march, not the I support Palestine Action, but the other march tomorrow and in the marches behind they're wicked, they're evil, they're wrong. They're not.
That's not what people have said.
There's lots of people who simply see what's going on in Gaza and they say...
But why aren't they asking Hamas to make peace happen?
The same thing is going on the other side. Each side is vilifying the other.
It's anti-Israel, but they never mention Hamas.
Out of all this panel, I'm the only one that seems to go on protests. I've been going on protests for years, and I defend everyone's right to protest. It's our fundamental right. But 2 days after innocent Jews are slaughtered by a maniac, it should be stopped. It should be stopped.
Right at the back, sorry, would you like to make a point, sir?
It's just Barry says that we all have the right to protest, and I totally agree with that.
Peacefully.
Peacefully. But you seem to also be implying that you do accept there is a lot of misbehaviour on these protests.
Yeah.
Every single time, and not just in one area, they do various things which I imagine you would disapprove of in a protest.
Absolutely.
How many chances are they going to get to misbehave? And how many chances might a group of Englishmen be given to misbehave? I think they'd be given probably one chance.
First of all, sir, the people who are protesting, they are Englishmen as well, and Englishwomen, right?
Yes, but
they are
solely identifying as
citizens who are doing that. Some of them behave, and the vast majority of them will march, and they'll march to say they want an end to that war, and that's fine. There are others on those marches who will cause trouble, and who are there to do
the peaceful protesters, the police are obliged to step in and arrest them if they hold the sign
that's a different march that we're talking.
But they are taking up police resources when the police are busy trying to protect synagogues, trying to reassure everybody else.
That is the best practical reason for it not going ahead.
Keir Starmer has just come out. We played you a clip of it earlier on yesterday, giving it the big in about how he really understands the threat the Jewish community is facing, how he's going to protect them, going to throw arms around them, etc. OK, fine. Wherever these marches are, a lot of Jews feel like it's a no-go zone. So you're going to end up to the capital of this country tomorrow, and wherever else these marches are popping up, where areas where some Jews feel as though they just can't go. And that's not protecting them.
And I think what's happening here is what you're describing, Barry, as acceptable is actually not what's happening. Because you're right, what you're describing, if someone was peacefully protesting, not holding up a sign about a prescribed terror group, I don't think anyone would complain about that if they weren't intimidating other Jewish people. But that isn't what's happening, Barry. That's the difference.
One thing that, Barry, it's clear to me now, is the Unite the Kingdom march, which I went on, was 98% attended to by good people, normal people. There were a small fringe people that were violent or said terrible things. You've now said that happens at the Palestinian marches, but they're not labelled far left or extremist, yet the Unite the Kingdom march is labelled and tarnished because of a small amount of people. Right. Your government needs to make its mind up on how it treats different groups of protesters.
Why do you think people have been arrested on the Palestinian marches? They've been arrested because they're doing the wrong thing, those individuals.
But you just won't label that whole march because of those people, which people do with Unite the Kingdom.
Adam, I didn't label the whole of the people who were on the Unite the Kingdom march.
Your party has and the media has, Barry.
Well, I don't.
Good.
And I think we need to start creating a space where we can talk to each other, understand each other's concerns, and actually try and get a way forward rather than always saying the other lot, they're the evil buggers and we're fine.
Barry, can I just say one thing in your defence, Barry? You are the only Labour politician I've heard that has actually called out what happened in the terror attack as an Islamist attack, though. Yeah. And I think credit to you for that I didn't get to say that.
Now, in reference to the attacker's father, so Jihad's dad, in a Facebook post on the Al-Shami's account today, they distanced themselves from the attack. GB News has approached both Mr Al-Shami for comment and we've also asked him whether or not he would like to clarify remarks he's made about Hamas, Israel and the October 7th attack. Surprisingly, we're yet to hear back. Look, lots more coming your way, including a bit of this.
You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
Right, it looks as though Sir Keir Starmer might be about to U-turn on digital IDs, but in light of what we saw yesterday, and it's not the first time this has happened, where the initial description comes through of someone who's done one of these horrific attacks and is British citizen of X descent, right? I'm going to ask now, right, look, what does it mean to be British? Is it just all about the passport? Stay tuned.